chosen one. Heaven has stopped you here for a reason. This moment is not random. It is a pause divinely arranged because your next step matters more than you know. You are on the edge of something that looks promising, but beneath the surface, it is a pit dug by the enemy. Imagine walking across a frozen lake. The ice looks strong enough to hold you, but only a few steps further, the surface thins, waiting to break. That is where you stand right now, between safety and collapse. The stirring in your spirit is not confusion. It is God's warning signal. That unease you feel in conversations, in decisions, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, that is heaven whispering, "Do not go further." Then, the adversary has studied you. He knows your hopes, your habits, your weaknesses. He sets snares that look like golden opportunities, doors wrapped in shining colors. But inside them waits emptiness. And because you are chosen, because your destiny is marked, the cost of stepping wrongly is far greater for you than for others. Let me tell you of a chosen one who once waited for God's timing but grew weary. When an offer appeared that promised status and recognition, he convinced himself it must be God's answer. He ignored the inner whisper that told him to pause. For a season, it felt like success, but cracks soon appeared. What seemed like blessing drained him, robbed him of peace, and left him emptier than before. Only later did he realize he had taken the bait of the enemy. You must not repeat that story. You must not mistake a snare for a crown. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest. This is your crossroads. One road looks easy, but it leads to regret. The other demands trust, patience, surrender, but it carries the weight of destiny. Right here, right now, I want you to respond. Not tomorrow, not when it feels convenient. If you hear this word pulling at your spirit, type 333 inches, the comments as your declaration, "I choose alignment." And if this message is speaking to you, subscribe, like, and share, so this warning can reach others who stand at the same dangerous edge. Chosen one, heaven is urging you. Stop before it is too late. Your destiny is too precious to gamble away. And now let me leave you with this extended whisper for your heart. When God asks you to stop, it is not rejection, it is redirection. Think of a parent grabbing their child's arm before they step into traffic. It feels sudden, it feels strong, but it is always love. In the same way, your Father in heaven is pulling you back so you can walk into something greater. Sometimes stopping is harder than going. Moving feels like progress, while pausing feels like weakness. But pause is where heaven resets your steps. Stopping here does not mean you are losing, it means you are being saved from loss. So breathe deeply tonight. Let your soul rest in the knowledge that you are seen, guided, and protected. This is not the end of your story. It is the preservation of your destiny. And what waits for you on the path of obedience will be worth every sacrifice of the present moment. Chosen one, the danger before you does not wear the face of danger. That is the unsettling truth. The enemy rarely comes shouting, waving red flags, announcing his schemes. No, he comes wrapped in what looks like blessing, cloaked in opportunity. in the sweet language of what you have been longing for. It is like a fisherman who knows exactly what bait the fish craves. He does not throw a bare hook into the water. He covers it with something shiny, something enticing. That is how the snare before you has been designed. It looks like the answer you have been waiting for. It looks like the fulfillment of prayers. But underneath, it is a hook meant to pull you out of the waters of God's covering. Not every open door is a divine door. Some swing wide because the adversary himself opened them, knowing you would rush through. When you have waited long for breakthrough, the temptation to grab the first thing that glitters is strong. But what glitters is not always gold. Sometimes it is glass sharp enough to cut your soul. There is a story of a woman who prayed for companionship, aching for love after years of loneliness. Then came someone charming, attentive, saying the right words. Everyone around her celebrated, but soon shadows appeared. His words did not align with his actions. Her peace was disrupted. She silenced the warnings inside. She walked into what looked like a gift, only to discover bondage disguised in beauty. This is the pattern you must discern. The enemy is skilled at counterfeits. He studies your desire, then crafts a version that looks close enough to deceive the impatient heart. That is why you must test every gift, weigh every opportunity, measure every voice against the Spirit of God within you. Picture a marketplace where two crowns are displayed. One is pure gold, heavy with worth, refined by fire. The other is polished brass, dazzling in the sunlight, almost identical to gold. The untrained eye rushes to buy the brass, thinking it has found treasure. Only later, when the shine fades, does the truth sting. Many lives are weighed down, not by lack of crowns, but by counterfeit crowns, chosen in haste. Chosen one. You are standing at such a market. Before you lies the choice, counterfeit or authentic, bait or blessing. God's true gift will never demand you silence His Spirit. It will never strip your peace. It will carry calm, even in challenge. The Word of God thunders in the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 9. The ways of the Lord are right. The righteous walk in them, but the rebellious stumble in them. This is the difference between safety and ruin. When you walk in His way, even the rough road keeps you steady. But when you step onto the path of rebellion, even the smooth road becomes a trap. Look at your present decisions. Ask yourself, does this door demand compromise? Does this opportunity strip my peace? Do I feel forced to convince myself it is right? If yes, then it is bait. It is not your promised land. Do not confuse momentum with destiny. Sometimes the fastest moving current is the one that pulls you farthest from the shore. Chosen one. You are not being delayed. You are being protected. The bait that glitters is not your future. The trap is waiting. But so is God's way of escape. Your choice will decide which you step into. Chosen one. Have you noticed the unrest within you? That quiet unease that keeps rising even when everything on the outside seems fine. That is not just nerves, not just overthinking. That is the Spirit of God stirring your soul with warnings. It is like standing in a house where the walls look strong, the paint fresh, the furniture polished. Guests walk in and praise how beautiful it all appears. But deep inside the foundation, termites are eating through the beams. To the eye, it looks safe, but to the spirit, Danger is near. That is why you cannot trust appearances. You must trust the voice inside. Restlessness is heaven's alarm. Many ignore it, silencing it with noise, busyness, and excuses. They tell themselves, "I'm just being paranoid." But that restlessness is the spirit whispering, "Do not step forward. Something is off." If you have been tossing and turning at night, if your spirit feels unsettled, understand this: it is not weakness. It is warning. There was once a young man who sought breakthrough. An unexpected business partnership appeared. Big promises, bright profits, quick success. His friends said, "This is your chance." Yet he could not sleep at night. Every conversation with this partner drained him. Though the numbers looked perfect on paper, the restlessness grew, but he ignored it. Months later, he found himself trapped in betrayal, debts, and shame. The Spirit had warned him, but he brushed it aside. Chosen one, you are different. You cannot afford to dismiss the inner nudge. That restlessness is not your enemy, it is your shield. Listen to it. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Colossians, chapter 3, verse 15, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful." Peace is the referee of your spirit. When it is absent, take notice. When it disappears, pause. That absence of peace is heaven's red light telling you not to proceed. Now I want you to do something. Write in the comments, "I choose stillness." Why? Because stillness is not inactivity, it is obedience. It is you declaring, "I will not rush ahead into what looks good but feels wrong. I will wait on God." When you type these words, you are stepping out of the noise and back into alignment. Think of it this way. When a shepherd calls, the sheep respond, not with speeches, but with movement. A small turn of the head, a step in the right direction. Your comment is that step. It is you saying, "I'm not brushing this aside. I'm listening." Chosen one. The restlessness is mercy. It is the net catching you before you plunge into the pit. Do not curse the unease. Embrace it. It is the sound of heaven saving you. And let me add this so it settles deeper. When you choose stillness, you are not losing time, you are preserving destiny. Many people equate silence with delay, but in truth, silence is where God rewrites your path. Stillness sharpens your ears. It allows you to separate the echo of fear from the whisper of the Spirit. It builds the muscle of discernment so that when the counterfeit comes again, you will recognize it immediately. So, instead of resenting the unease, receive it as proof that heaven is near, watching over you. This restlessness is not punishment, it is protection. And when you honor it, you step back under the covering of God's peace, which no counterfeit can steal. Chosen one. The enemy has been watching you closely. His strategies are not random, they are calculated. Studies your movements, your cycles, your habits. Just as a hunter observes the path of deer through the forest, noting where they drink water and where they rest, so the adversary maps out your life to place snares exactly where you are most likely to step. Do not think for a moment that your struggles are mere chance. Every temptation, every counterfeit, every distraction, these are tailored. The adversary knows that not every trap will work on you, so he adjusts. refining his schemes, creating situations that align perfectly with your weaknesses and longings. That is why some doors seem so appealing. They were designed with you in mind. Picture a chess game. The opponent does not move pieces randomly. Every move is meant to position you into checkmate. In the same way, Satan positions circumstances around you to corner you, to make compromise feel like the only option, to make disobedience look like wisdom. But you, chosen one, must remember you are not merely a pawn on his board. You are a king's heir, already given authority to rise above the game. There is a sobering story of a woman who spent years climbing in her career. She was disciplined, hardworking, deeply rooted in faith. But as she began to rise, she was noticed by someone who seemed like an ally. This person offered mentorship, opportunities, and doors she had prayed for. What she did not see was that he had been watching her from a distance, learning her patterns, waiting for the moment of vulnerability. Soon, she found herself drawn into compromise, small at first, then greater. By the time she realized, she was entangled. The enemy had studied her well, and she had underestimated his patience. Chosen one, hear this. The enemy is patient. He does not mind waiting months, even years, for you to let your guard down. He plants seeds early, knowing they will sprout at your weakest season. That is why vigilance is not optional. It is your lifeline. The Word of God declares in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 8, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." The imagery is deliberate. Lions do not attack every moment. They stalk. They wait. They study the herd. They target the isolated, the weary, the distracted, and when they strike, it is swift. This is the nature of your adversary. He will not always come in obvious ways. Sometimes he will wait until you are tired, until you feel unseen, until you crave affirmation. Then he strikes with something that looks like exactly what you wanted. But you are not defenseless. Your awareness is a weapon. When you recognize the schemes, the illusion loses its power. When you call out the trap for what it is, the snare cannot hold you. Think of a sailor navigating waters filled with hidden reefs. To the inexperienced, the sea looks calm, but the seasoned sailor knows to watch for subtle signs, a shift in waves, a ripple out of place. By discerning these, he avoids disaster. In the same way, when you stay spiritually alert, you see the ripple before the crash, and you step back before the fall. Chosen one, your enemy studies you, but heaven surrounds you. You are not left exposed. You have discernment as your shield, the Word as your sword, and the Spirit as your compass. Do not fear the lion. Fear only what happens if you stop watching. Chosen one, the greatest battle you face is not always against visible enemies. It is against voices, so many voices pulling, promising, persuading. The noise of the world rises like a flood, opinions, opportunities, advice, and expectations. In the middle of that flood, the still, steady voice of God calls you to remember who you are. But here is the truth. You cannot follow all voices. You must choose one. If you let the world guide you, You will be tossed like a leaf in the storm. If you let the Spirit guide you, you will stand like a rooted tree, unshaken by the winds. Think of a river splitting into two streams. One is wide, fast, and crowded with boats. The other is narrow, quieter, winding through hidden valleys. Most people rush to the wide river. It feels exciting, impressive, safe, because everyone else is there. But it is also shallow, filled with rocks, and ends in a dry desert. The narrow stream, though harder to notice, flows steadily into fertile fields where life flourishes. That is the choice before you now. There was once a chosen one who carried a dream for years. When the chance finally came, it arrived with glitter and applause. The wide river beckoned, and the crowd cheered. But the Spirit whispered otherwise. He wrestled with the decision: crowd or calling, applause or obedience. In the end, he chose the quiet river. And though the journey was slower, it led him to the very land God had promised. This is why discernment is not optional, it is essential. The counterfeit always shouts. The authentic often whispers. If you only follow the noise, you will miss the whisper that saves you. The Word of God declares in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live." Your destiny is not automatic, it is chosen. Life is not stumbled into, it is stepped into. Each decision is a stone in the road, forming the path you will walk tomorrow. Now let me speak to your heart. If these words are reaching you, it is because the Spirit is reminding you that you still have a choice. Every click, every pause, every response is not just interaction, it is agreement. Think of it as planting a seed. When you like, you water the soil. When you share, you scatter seeds into other fields. When you subscribe, you choose to remain rooted by the stream that brings life. These acts are not demands, they are invitations. You are not feeding an algorithm, you are cultivating a garden where your spirit will grow. Chosen one. The invitation is open, not forced. Just as a river does not drag you, but waits for you to step in, so does heaven. Let your action today be your step. Choose the current that carries you into life. And remember this, rivers never stay, still they flow. They carry. They shape the land around them. In the same way, your small act today will create ripples far beyond what you can see. A simple like, share, or subscribe is not noise. It is the ripple of faith spreading into other hearts. Do not underestimate the beauty of choosing life in small ways. The narrow stream becomes a mighty river when many choose to walk in it together. And as you step into it, you are not alone. The current of heaven carries you forward. Chosen one. Let me speak plainly. Mercy is not endless when it is ignored. Grace is wide. But it is not a license to keep walking into danger. Many have mistaken God's patience for permission, thinking, if it were wrong, I would have been stopped already. But silence does not mean approval. Sometimes silence is heaven watching, waiting to see what you will choose. It is like a candle burning in the night. The flame glows bright, steady, warm. Yet if you place it in the wind long enough, the flame flickers weaker until at last it is gone. Grace gives you the flame, but rebellion exposes it to winds that were never meant to touch it. There is a story of a chosen one who lived with repeated warnings. Time after time, God nudged them back through dreams, through unease, through people who spoke truth. But instead of listening, they delayed. "I'll change tomorrow," they said. "I'll stop soon." But tomorrow never came. And then one day, their heart grew numb. The voice of conviction quieted, and what once stirred them no longer touched them. That was the most dangerous moment, not when they were tempted, but when they no longer felt the pull of mercy. You must understand this. When you harden your heart to the Spirit, you are not standing still, you are drifting. And drifting always leads to a place farther than you ever intended to go. The ancient words recorded in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 26 declare, "If we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left." This is not a whisper, it is a trumpet. It reminds you that to treat grace lightly is to trample on the very gift that saved you. Mercy is not weakness, it is strength held back, waiting for your return. But when mercy steps aside, judgment fills the space. Chosen one, you stand at the border of mercy and blindness. The very unease in your heart right now is proof that heaven is still reaching for you. That conviction you feel, it is not condemnation. It is evidence that your flame is not yet gone. Think of a ship straying off course in the night. At first, the drift is small, almost unnoticeable. The stars above still shine. The waves still carry gently. But if the captain ignores the compass long enough, the ship will crash against unseen rocks. Mercy is the compass in your soul, pointing you back before the rocks destroy you. Do not ignore it. Do not silence it. Every time you feel that nudge to stop, it is God giving you one more chance, one more warning, one more opportunity to step back into alignment before it is too late. Right here, I want you to mark this moment. If you know in your heart that mercy is pulling you back, declare it openly. Type 999 inches the comments. Why 999? Because it is the number of final calls, the last trumpet before completion. It is you saying, "I hear the warning, and I will not delay." This is not about superstition. It is about sealing your agreement with heaven that you choose to stop now, before grace is withdrawn. Remember this, conviction is a gift. If you can still feel it, it means the door is still open. Step through while there is time. Chosen one, some of the most dangerous traps are not the ones wrapped in obvious evil, but the ones that come clothed in almost right. The enemy is cunning. He knows you would never run willingly into darkness. So he sprinkles just enough truth, just enough light, to make the lie look convincing. It is like eating fruit that looks ripe on the outside, red, shiny, appealing, but inside it is bruised, rotten, and crawling with worms. From a distance, it seems nourishing, but once you bite, the poison spreads. That is how almost right works. It appears safe. It looks like blessing, but the aftertaste reveals corruption. There was once a chosen one who longed for a ministry platform. A mentor appeared, gifted, eloquent, full of charisma. He spoke about God, quoted scripture, and seemed to carry wisdom, yet slowly. The chosen one noticed inconsistencies. promises made but not kept, words that inspired but did not align with action. It was difficult to see at first, because 90% sounded good, but the 10% of compromise was enough to derail everything. By the time the mask slipped, the damage had already been done. This is why discernment must cut deeper than appearances. The enemy thrives in the gray areas, where the difference between truth and counterfeit is razor thin. Almost right is still wrong. Almost light is still darkness. Almost truth is still deception. The Word of God declares in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 14, "And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light." And this is not just metaphor, it is warning. Satan does not show up in the obvious cloak of destruction. He mimics light. He copies language. He disguises himself in what seems good so that your guard lowers. He does not need to destroy you with one blow. He only needs to lure you with half-truths until you are too far from the path. Think of a compass that is off by just 1 degree. At first, you hardly notice the difference. You are still walking in the same general direction, but over miles, that tiny error takes you into a completely different destination. Almost right decisions may feel harmless in the moment, but over time, they lead to a place you never intended to go. Chosen one, you must measure everything not by how it looks, but by whether it aligns with the Spirit of God. If the voice you hear encourages compromise, if the opportunity requires silencing your conviction, if the relationship pushes you to ignore what you know is right, it is not from God, no matter how good it seems. Let me give you another picture. Imagine a violin tuned ever so slightly off-key. To the untrained ear, the music still sounds pleasant, but to the master musician, every note grates against the truth of the melody. The Spirit within you is that musician. He knows the sound of truth. He detects the distortion even when the world claps in approval. Do not allow yourself to be lulled into compromise by things that sound close enough. You were not called to blend in with the almost right. You were chosen to walk in the fullness of truth. The counterfeit crown, the counterfeit friend, the counterfeit door, these may shine for a while, but they cannot endure. Only what is truly from God carries eternal weight. Do not settle for the shallow glow of almost light when the true brilliance of His glory waits for you. Chosen one, guard your heart with discernment, sharper than a blade. For it is not the obvious darkness that will try to steal your destiny, it is the subtle imitation of light. Chosen one, let this truth settle into your spirit. Your crown is at stake. This is not about temporary comfort, not about passing pleasures, not about the shallow approval of the crowd. The decisions you make in this season carry the weight of destiny. One careless step, one compromise embraced as harmless, can place your crown on the altar of the enemy. Think of a runner in a race who is leading with strength and speed. The finish line is near, the victory within reach. But then, in a moment of distraction, he steps off track to tie his shoe, to greet the crowd, to grab what looks like a refreshment. By the time he returns, his lead is gone, and the crown belongs to another. That is the subtle danger you face, not that your crown can be stolen, but that it can be surrendered by carelessness. The Apostle James reminds us in his letter, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life, that the Lord has promised to those who love him. This is not a crown of metal or jewels. It is the eternal recognition of your faithfulness. To persevere is to fight through temptation, to resist compromise, to hold fast when everything around you tells you to let go. The enemy knows he cannot erase your calling, so he seeks instead to distract you, to exhaust you, to make you believe your crown is not worth the fight. There was a young woman who carried prophetic fire in her heart. From childhood, she felt the call of God burning within her. But as she grew, opportunities for comfort began to whisper. A relationship appeared, offering security but requiring her silence. A career opened, offering wealth but asking her to compromise her convictions. Slowly, she began trading small pieces of her calling for temporary safety. By the time she realized, the fire had dimmed, and her crown seemed far away. This is the risk when you exchange the eternal for the temporary. The enemy does not mind you being successful. As long as you are silent, he does not mind you gaining the world. As long as you lose your soul, think of a priceless jewel placed in a marketplace. The vendor offers you trinkets in exchange, shiny stones, cheap bracelets, things that dazzle for a moment but crumble with time. Only the foolish would trade the priceless for the perishable. Yet spiritually, many do just that. They trade a crown of glory for the applause of people, the thrill of sin, the temporary comfort of compromise. Chosen one, your crown is heavy with eternal weight. It is marked with your name, crafted for your obedience, designed for your destiny. No one else can wear it. And though it can be delayed by distraction, it can also be reclaimed by repentance. The Spirit is warning you, guard your crown. Do not place it on the table of temptation. Do not gamble it for something that will not last. Your crown is not only your inheritance, it is also the testimony of God's glory revealed through your endurance. Picture a warrior returning from battle. His armor is scratched, his body weary, but his crown shines brighter than ever, because it tells the story of victories won through perseverance. That is what awaits you if you hold on. Chosen one. The path is narrow, the fight is real, but the crown is certain. Do not let temporary desires rob you of eternal reward. Stand, resist, endure, and when the battle is over, the crown of life will be placed upon your head. Chosen one. Blindness does not fall suddenly. It creeps in slowly, dimming your vision, one compromise at a time. The first step away from God may seem harmless, small, almost invisible, but repeated often enough, it dulls the eyes of your spirit until you no longer see what is truly happening around you. It is like walking into a dark room from the sunlight. At first, you notice the shadows, the absence of clarity, the way objects are hard to make out. But stay long enough, and your eyes adjust. You stop noticing the darkness. You begin to call it normal. That is how spiritual blindness works, not with a crash, but with a slow adjustment to things that should never be accepted. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 22, declares, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light." This is why your vision matters. Chosen one. When your eyes are fixed on truth, your entire life shines with clarity. But when compromise clouds your sight, shadows creep into every part of your being. There was a man who once walked closely with God. Every decision, every step, he sought the Spirit's leading. But one season, impatience stirred. He wanted results faster, so he compromised just a little. He said, "God understands." Then he compromised again. Before long, he no longer prayed with urgency. The scriptures gathered dust. The sensitivity of his heart dulled. And one day, when danger surrounded him, he could not even discern it. What once was light in him had dimmed to shadows. Chosen one. This is the risk of repeated rebellion. Each time you ignore conviction, the veil thickens. Each time you say, "I'll change tomorrow," your eyes adjust a little more to darkness. Until one day, what once made you tremble no longer stirs you at all. Think of a mirror left outside in the rain. At first, it reflects clearly, but over time, dust, dirt, and water spots cloud the surface. Unless it is wiped clean, the reflection disappears. Your spirit is that mirror. Ignore the cleansing of God's word long enough, and you will no longer see him or yourself clearly. Yet here is the mercy. If you feel the sting of this word, you are not blind yet. Conviction means your eyes are still open. You can still turn back. The light of God is still within reach. Now I want you to anchor this moment. Write in the comments, "I see light." Just 3 words. But they carry power. In declaring them, you are aligning yourself with heaven's clarity. You are saying, "I refuse blindness. I choose vision. I welcome light into every corner of my life." Chosen one. Do not let your eyes grow dim. Fight to keep your vision clear. The enemy fears nothing more than a chosen one who sees sharply, who discerns traps before they spring, who refuses to call shadows light. Guard your sight, for your destiny depends on what you see. And hear this clearly, vision is not only for direction, it is for protection. When your eyes remain open, you avoid pitfalls that others fall into blindly. To see is to live. To discern is to endure. That is why heaven urges you to keep declaring, "I see light." Every repetition is like cleaning the mirror of your soul, wiping away the dust, sharpening your gaze, and ensuring that darkness never becomes your new normal. Chosen one. You were never called to blend in. You were called to be set apart. And because of that calling, your path will rarely look like the crowd's path. The very thing that makes others comfortable will often make your spirit restless. The road that seems wide, safe, and celebrated may not be the road that carries you toward destiny. Imagine a garden filled with many plants. Some are weeds, sprouting quickly and covering the soil in days. They grow tall, but they produce nothing. Beside them stands a young olive tree, slow to rise, often overlooked, yet deeply rooted. While the weeds flourish fast, but die with the season, the olive tree endures, bearing fruit that blesses generations. You are not a weed, you are that tree. Your strength is not in speed, but in being rooted in God. To be set apart means you will often walk the harder road. It means saying no when others say yes. It means being misunderstood, mocked, or even left behind. But do not fear the loneliness of separation, for separation is the soil where destiny grows. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Romans, chapter 12, Verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will know God's will. This transformation does not come by copying the crowd, but by walking faithfully, even when the crowd takes a different path. There was once a chosen one who longed for acceptance. Every room they entered, they tried to fit in. Every circle, they adjusted themselves to match the tone. But the more they tried, the more empty they became. One day, the Spirit whispered, "You are not meant to fit in, you are meant to stand out." That day, they stopped chasing applause and started chasing presence. And suddenly, the peace they had been missing filled them like never before. Think of a lighthouse on the shore. It does not move with the tides, does not dim to blend with the stars. It stands firm, shining brightly so that ships lost at sea may find their way. If the lighthouse tried to blend into the night, sailors would crash. Your difference is not a curse, it is a light meant to guide others. Now, let me speak about your response. When you choose to stand apart, you are not only choosing for yourself, you are making a statement to heaven and to others who are watching. Every action is like placing a stone in the path of someone else, making it easier for them to walk in courage too. This is why your decision to like, to share, to subscribe is not shallow. It is symbolic. Think of it as lighting a lantern. When you engage, you add oil to the flame, ensuring the light does not fade. You are saying, "This truth matters, not just to me, but to those who need it next." When you share, it is like passing bread in a famine. Someone starving for hope may find nourishment because you chose to hand it on. When you subscribe, it is like choosing to return to the well, knowing there will be fresh water for you tomorrow. And when you like, it is like planting a flag, declaring, "I agree with this truth." Oh, chosen one, nothing here is forced. The lighthouse never begs the ships to look, it simply shines. In the same way, this invitation is not about compulsion, but about clarity. If this word resonates with you, let your actions be the ripple that carries light beyond your own life. You are set apart, not hidden. You are chosen, not common. Let your choice today reflect the destiny you already carry. Chosen one, there is a weight you have carried that many around you cannot see. The repeated delays, the missed opportunities, the sudden heartbreaks, they did not happen without reason. There is a pattern, and that pattern is tied to ignoring God's stop signs. Misalignement always produce pain. Think of an instrument that is slightly out of tune. At first, the song seems pleasant enough, but as the music continues, the dissonance grows unbearable. The player may press all the right keys, but if the instrument is misaligned, no melody can reach its fullness. In the same way, even when you put in effort, misalignment with God causes the harmony of your life to feel off-key. There was once a chosen one who pursued opportunities with passion. Every time something opened up, they rushed through it, convinced that speed was equal to success. But door after door led to disappointment. They asked, "Why does this keep happening to me?" What they did not see was that these were doors they were never meant to enter. Instead of waiting for God's timing, they had followed their own. The pain of misalignment followed them until they finally surrendered their pace to heaven's rhythm. The scriptures remind us through the prophet Haggai. Chapter 1, verse 6. You have planted much, but harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but are not warm. You earn wages, only to put them in a purse with holes in it. End of T. This is the description of misalignment: working harder, but seeing less fruit. Filling your life, yet never feeling full. Chasing more, but remaining empty. God allows this restlessness not to punish you, but to call you back into His design. Consider a wheel on a cart that has come loose from its axle. No matter how strong the horse, no matter how straight the road, the cart will wobble, shake, and eventually collapse. The problem is not the strength of the horse or the length of the journey. It is the misalignment of the wheel. Many of your struggles have not been about your lack of strength, but about being out of alignment with God's timing. But here lies hope. Misalignment does not mean disqualification. A wheel can be reset on the axle. An instrument can be tuned again. A path can be corrected. The pain you feel is not the end. It is the indicator that something must be realigned. There was once a farmer who planted in the wrong season. He labored in the heat, sowing with diligence, watering with care. But the crops refused to grow. Only when he humbled himself to the rhythm of the seasons did his harvest finally flourish. Your life, too, carries a rhythm set by heaven, not by haste. When you move outside that rhythm, frustration grows. But when you align, fruit flows. Chosen one, the delays you have faced may not be because God has forgotten you, but because He has been protecting you. The doors that closed, the plans that fell apart, these were not denials but redirections. He was saving you from roads that looked promising but ended in ruin. The pain of misalignment is real, but it is also temporary. When you allow God to reset your steps, the wasted years become testimony. The broken pieces become building blocks, and the delays turn into preparation. Do not despise the ache. It is a compass pointing you back. Do not curse the setback. It is the hand of heaven realigning your steps. For when you walk in rhythm with God, even the slow path will carry you further than the fastest detour. Chosen one. Every trap the enemy builds comes with a hidden escape. God never allows you to face a snare without also preparing a door to freedom. The problem is not the absence of a way out. The problem is whether you notice it and whether you choose it. Think of a burning building. Smoke fills the rooms. Flames climb the walls. And panic makes people freeze. Yet somewhere in that building is an exit door, clearly marked, waiting to lead to safety. Some will see it and run. Others, blinded by fear or stubbornness, will stay until it is too late. The escape is real, but it must be chosen. The Apostle Paul wrote in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 13, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." No, this is God's promise. There is always a way out. The question is, will you take it? Even when it means letting go of what you thought you wanted. There was a man who found himself entangled in a destructive relationship. The warnings were everywhere. Friends spoke up. His peace vanished. His prayers grew heavy. Yet he convinced himself, "This is all I have." He ignored the open door. God had given him an opportunity to leave, a chance to rebuild. By the time he realized, The fire had consumed more than he ever imagined. The escape had been there, but he chose not to walk through it. And yet, another chosen one tells a different story. She, too, stood in a situation that felt like chains around her soul. But one day, she noticed the whisper, "Go now." An unexpected job offer, a sudden open door in another city, a new circle of friends who welcomed her. It did not look glamorous, but it was the exit. She took it, and though the first steps were hard, freedom came. Her testimony now is that the escape is real, but you must be bold enough to step through it. Think of a bird trapped in a cage. The door is open, but fear keeps it clinging to the perch. Freedom is inches away, yet the comfort of familiarity binds it tighter than iron bars ever could. Many chosen ones live like this, clinging to perches of habit, fear, or comfort, while heaven calls them into the open sky. Chosen one, you are being offered an exit now. The unease you feel is the Spirit pointing to the door. The sudden opportunities that look small but give peace, those are signs. The repeated warnings that keep circling back to you, they are markers along the hallway leading to the way out. But the decision is yours. God provides the door, but He will not drag you through it. Heaven respects your choice. Right now, if you sense that this word is for you, mark it openly. Type 444 inches, the comments. Why 444? Because 4 is the number of stability and foundation. By writing it, you are declaring, I choose the solid ground of God's escape route. I choose to step into freedom. Do not mistake this as a ritual. It is a prophetic act. Numbers in Scripture often carried meaning, and this act is your way of planting a flag in the Spirit. You are saying, I see the door, and I will walk through it. Chosen one. Freedom is nearer than you think. The door is already open. The question is, will you take it? Chosen one. Freedom is rarely easy. The chains that bind you are not always made of iron. Sometimes they are woven out of comfort, routine, and familiarity. That is why breaking free requires more than strength. It requires courage. Imagine a prisoner whose cell door has been unlocked. The hinges creak. The path outside lies open, and yet he does not move. Why? Because the cell has become his home. He knows the dimensions of the walls, the rhythm of the guards, even the cracks in the floor. To step into freedom means facing the unknown. And the unknown feels scarier than the prison he has learned to survive in. Many live this way, clinging to chains disguised as safety. There was once a chosen one who longed for change. She prayed for new beginnings, begged for breakthrough. But when opportunities arose, she turned them down. It doesn't feel safe, she said. What if I fail? Slowly, she realized her prayers were answered. But her fear of leaving comfort was the true chain. Freedom required her to step, even while trembling. And when she finally did, she discovered that the ground beneath her was firmer than the cage she left behind. The scriptures speak through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 41, verse 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. This is the promise that courage rests upon. You are not walking away alone. God Himself upholds you as you break the chains. But here is the truth. Freedom will cost you something. It may cost you relationships that keep you bound. It may cost you habits that once comforted, but now corrode. It may even cost you the image you've built for yourself, the mask that hides your wounds. Yet every cost is worth it, for the price of staying chained is far greater. Think of an eagle born in captivity. The cage is opened one day, and for the first time, the wind brushes against its wings. The eagle hesitates, unsure, but then takes flight. The cage once felt safe, but only in the sky does it realize what it was created for. You, chosen one, were never designed to perch forever. You were crafted for the sky. Breaking free also means facing the lies you've believed. The enemy whispers, "This is all you'll ever be. You'll never survive outside this cage. Who do you think you are to rise?" These are not truths, they are chains of deception. Each time you agree with them, the shackles tighten. But when you confront them with God's word, they shatter. Freedom is not only about what you leave behind, it is about what you step into. It is stepping into peace that no chain can steal, into clarity that no cage can block, into destiny that only wide skies can hold. Chosen one, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward, even while fear whispers. Every trembling step is still a step, and heaven does not measure the strength of your stride, only the direction of your heart. So, take the step, break the chain, and let your wings remember what they were made to do. Chosen one, when you obey, something remarkable happens. You shine, not because you seek recognition, but because light always breaks through the places where darkness once reigned. The mark of heaven upon you becomes visible. People may not understand why they feel drawn to you, why your presence unsettles them, why your words pierce deeper than ordinary speech. It is because obedience has turned you into a torchbearer. Think of a lamp carried into a cave. The cave has stood for centuries, thick with shadows. The air is heavy, the silence suffocating. Yet the moment a single flame enters, the cave is no longer the same. Darkness has no choice but to retreat. That is what your life does when you walk in alignment with God. The scriptures remind us in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." None. Notice, the command is not to create light, but to let it shine. The light is already in you. Obedience removes the coverings that hide it. There was once a chosen one who thought their life was too ordinary to matter. They lived quietly, unnoticed, working faithfully, but with little recognition. Yet every time they chose honesty when others lied, every time they offered kindness when others mocked, every time they stood firm when compromise would have been easier, something shifted in the atmosphere. Years later, people came to them saying, "You don't know how much your life inspired me." They had never sought attention, yet their obedience became a beacon. Others followed. Darkness does not need your agreement, it only needs your silence. That is why the enemy tries so hard to make you blend in. If he cannot trap you in open sin, he will try to bury your light under fear, shame, or the desire to remain unnoticed. But when you obey, you defy his plan. You rise, you shine, and you remind the world that light is stronger than shadow. Think of a city on a hill at night, travelers lost in the wilderness, Look up and see its glow from miles away. They know they are not alone, that there is safety ahead. In the same way, your obedience lights the path for others who are wandering in confusion. But remember this, shining will cost you. Torches burn by consuming themselves. To shine means surrender. To light the way means giving up what could have been used for yourself. Yet every sacrifice becomes fuel for the flame, and the flame you carry is not fragile. It is fed by the breath of God. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 2, verse 15, "Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly to the word of life." Stars do not compete with one another. Each simply burns in its place, and together they fill the sky. You do not need to outshine anyone. You need only to shine in your appointed place. Chosen one. Your obedience transforms you into more than a survivor. You become a torchbearer, a living testimony that light cannot be hidden. And when others see your light, they will glorify the one who lit it in the first place. Even in storms, the flame will not die. Even in darkness, the torch will not fail. Even when ignored, the light still speaks. Your shine is heaven's signature, proof that no shadow can silence what God has ignited. Chosen one. The war for your destiny is not distant. It is unfolding now. Every thought you wrestle with, every choice you face, every temptation that whispers in the quiet is part of a larger battle. You stand between surrender to God and surrender to the world. And heaven is watching which flag you will raise. Think of a battlefield at dawn. Two banners ripple in the wind, one bearing the mark of truth, the other painted with illusions. Soldiers gather, waiting for the signal. Some rush to the shining banner that promises ease, but its cloth tears with the first strike of the storm. Others stand by the weathered flag, its fabric scarred by fire, yet unbroken. That is your choice today. Will you follow the fragile or the eternal? The letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 13 declares, "Therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when evil comes, you may stand your ground." And after all, to stand. This is not a gentle suggestion, it is a call to arms. The day of evil does not announce itself. It arrives suddenly, testing whether you are armored or exposed. To stand requires more than willpower. It requires a decision to clothe yourself in God's strength. There was once a chosen one who lived with fire in their heart. In the beginning, obedience was simple, even joyful. But as years passed, weariness set in. They began to compromise, not in loud rebellion, but in small surrenders. "It's only this once," they said. "It's not a big deal." Yet each small surrender was a brick added to the enemy's fortress. By the time they realized, they were standing on the wrong side of the battlefield, waving a flag they never meant to carry. But there are also those who choose differently. They hear the same temptations, feel the same weight of weariness. Yet they lift their eyes and remember the crown promised to them. They plant their feet on holy ground and whisper, "I will not bow." Their voices may be few, their numbers small, but their light shakes the darkness. Think of a tree rooted on the edge of a cliff. Storms slam against it. Waves crash below. Winds howl without mercy. Other trees fall. Yet this one stands. Why? Because its roots dig deep into rock, not sand. You are that tree. Chosen one. The storms may rage, but your roots hold if you choose where to plant them. And now, here is the invitation, not as pressure, but as poetry, when you like. It is as if you lift your torch higher, signaling across the battlefield, I stand with the light. When you share, it is like passing a sword into another warrior's hand, arming them for the fight they didn't know they could win. When you subscribe, it is not a click, it is you returning to camp, saying, keep me near the fire, so I am ready when the trumpet sounds. Finally, when you leave a comment, it is not noise, it is the sound of your footsteps on sacred soil. A declaration written in the earth, I choose my banner. No one forces you, no one commands you. This act is voluntary, beautiful, and eternal, because it reflects the allegiance of your heart. Chosen one, the war for your destiny is raging, but victory is not uncertain. The banner of heaven already flies. What remains is whether you will lift your torch, raise your voice, and join the army marked by light. Chosen one. There is a joy that comes only when you stop in time. It is not the joy of temporary relief or the fleeting thrill of escape, but the deep, unshakable joy of obedience. Heaven pours out double favor upon those who choose surrender before destruction, who lay down their own will to embrace the will of God. Imagine a traveler walking toward the edge of a cliff. The fog is thick. The path seems safe, and each step feels ordinary. Suddenly, a voice calls out, "Stop!" The traveler halts, confused. But then the fog clears and reveals the abyss just ahead. Relief floods through him, not only because he avoided death, but because he knows someone was watching. Someone cared enough to warn him. That relief turns to joy. This is the joy of obedience, knowing you were preserved because you listened. The Book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 11, declares, "You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy." Obedience transforms sorrow into celebration. It turns nights of regret into mornings of laughter. The very places where you thought you had lost everything become altars of testimony, where you declare, "God saved me here." There was once a chosen one who ignored warning after warning, until one night their spirit broke. They fell on their knees, weeping, confessing, surrendering. What came next was unexpected, not condemnation, but overwhelming peace. The very presence they feared would reject them, instead wrap them in mercy. From that day forward, every step they took in obedience carried joy. People noticed the change, not in their circumstances, but in their countenance. The heaviness was gone, replaced by a radiance that only surrender can bring. This is what it means to receive double favor. God does not merely restore what was lost, He multiplies it. Where the enemy tried to steal years, God redeems time. Where sorrow once sat heavy, He plants laughter that ripples into the lives of others. Think of rain falling on a parched field. The soil is cracked, the crops withered, the land hopeless. But when the rain comes, not only does the ground drink deeply, but seeds buried long ago begin to sprout. Obedience is that rain. It awakens dormant promises. It revives seeds of destiny that once seemed dead. Do not underestimate the joy of saying yes. The enemy whispers that obedience will cost too much, that you will lose friends, opportunities, comfort, and yes, some of those things may be stripped away, but in their place, heaven releases treasures that cannot decay, peace that surpasses understanding, strength that endures storms, joy that remains unshaken even when the world shakes. Chosen one, you may not realize it yet, but your obedience is about to become someone else's testimony. Your yes will ripple beyond you, touching lives you may never meet. Your surrender will shine as proof that God still redeems, still restores, still fills the broken with dancing. The joy of obedience is not fragile, it is eternal. Let it clothe you, let it mark you, for heaven is ready to crown your surrender with joy overflowing. Like morning light after a storm, obedience breaks through the clouds, like fresh rain on parched ground. It awakens what seemed dead, like music after silence. It stirs the soul to dance again. This is the beauty of stopping in time, the gift of joy preserved. Chosen one, you have walked through warnings, battles, whispers, and promises. You have stood at crossroads where one wrong step could have undone everything, yet here you are, preserved, carried, and called. This moment is not about fear anymore, it is about destiny fulfilled. You were never created to linger on the edge of destruction. You were formed for crowns, for victory, for light that endures when shadows fade. Every time you resisted the bait, every time you paused when heaven whispered, every time you chose the narrow path, you were shaping a future beyond yourself. Think of a craftsman shaping gold. The fire is intense. The hammer strikes repeatedly, and the impurities rise to the surface. It looks painful, but with each strike, the gold takes form. That is what your trials have done. They have not been wasted. They have refined you for the moment. You now step into the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 10. Verse 35 declares, "So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded." End of 4. Confidence here is not arrogance, it is trust. It is the steady assurance that God's hand has never left you. It is the refusal to bow to despair, even when nights were long and lonely. That confidence is your crown. There was once a chosen one who thought their destiny had been lost. Too many mistakes, too many missed warnings, too many delays. Yet when they finally surrendered, they discovered something remarkable. Heaven had not cancelled their calling. What was postponed was not erased. Their crown still waited. Their purpose still pulsed with life. They rose, scarred but not defeated, and wore their destiny with a weight only refined souls can carry. Chosen one, this is the truth. You are crowned and unshakable, not because storms never came, but because you endured them, not because battles were easy, but because you fought through them. Your scars are not shame, they are proof of survival, evidence of grace. Imagine a mountain peak after a grueling climb. The air is thin, the body weary, but the view is breathtaking. You look back at the valleys, the cliffs, the storms, and realize it was worth it. Every tear, every wound, every delay, it was all part of the ascent. That is where you stand now, crowned with purpose, marked by perseverance. And the crown is not just for display, it is for reigning. You are not only a survivor, You are a ruler, entrusted to carry light into dark places, to lead others where you have walked, to speak hope into lives that feel trapped in the same snares you escaped. The enemy tried to make you believe your crown was lost, but heaven kept it safe. The world tried to convince you that you were ordinary, but God marked you extraordinary. The darkness tried to drown your flame, but your obedience fanned it into a fire that cannot be quenched. Chosen one, lift your head, wear your crown, walk in the authority already written over your life. For you are not fragile, you are forged. You are not easily shaken, you are anchored, and nothing, no scheme, no storm, no shadow, can undo what God has sealed. Like a lighthouse after the storm, you stand unbroken, like a crown set upon stone. You remain immovable. Like dawn after the longest night, you carry the proof of promise. Your destiny is not pending, it is alive, burning, and unstoppable. Chosen one, before this moment closes, let me leave you with a seal upon your heart. You have walked through warnings, through fire, through light and shadow. Now you stand crowned, refined, and ready. But the journey does not end with hearing. It continues with choosing. Think of a flame kept alive in the night. It does not burn by accident. It burns because someone tends it, adds oil, shields it from the wind. Your spirit is that flame. What you do next, how you respond, how you act, determines whether the fire grows or fades. This is why your simple actions matter. When you like, it is more than approval. It is you adding oil to the lamp, saying, "Let this light keep burning." When you share, it is like passing a torch into another hand, ensuring the fire spreads where darkness has settled. When you subscribe, it is not mechanical, it is you choosing to stay close to the flame, returning again and again to the place of light. And when you leave a comment, it is not noise, it is testimony. It is you placing a stone on the altar, saying, "This word met me here. I choose to walk in it." All chosen one. Never forget, heaven is not casual about your destiny. Angels watch. Heaven records. Eternity resounds with the weight of every decision. The banner of light has been lifted, and your crown is secure. Now walk boldly, share freely, and shine without fear. Your next step is not small, it is sacred. Tend the flame, spread the fire. Let the world see through you that God still chooses, still crowns, still transforms his people into living beacons of light.